Britain in the 1970s was a country changing faster than almost anyone could have imagined. The streets still carried reminders of an older Britain. There were grand hotels in London, country estates outside the cities, traditional pubs, department stores, and quiet villages where life seemed to move at a different pace. But the decade was also bringing something new. New music, new fashions, new technology, and a new generation of British cars. For wealthy drivers, the 1970s offered some of the most impressive luxury automobiles Britain had ever produced. These cars were large, comfortable, beautifully finished, and often powered by engines that could make even a long journey feel effortless. But luxury came at a price. Some of these cars cost several times more than an ordinary family car. They were seen outside expensive hotels, country clubs, businesses, and the homes of Britain's wealthiest families. And among them was one Jaguar that became a powerful symbol of British success. A car that looked elegant, moved effortless, and was far beyond the reach of most ordinary drivers. Today, we're counting down 10 remarkable British luxury cars from the 1970s. Some were famous, some have almost disappeared from memory, and one Jaguar became the kind of car that told everyone around you that you had made it. Let's begin.
Number 10. The Rover P5B. By the 1970s, the Rover P5B was already an older design, but that didn't make it irrelevant. Quite the opposite. The P5B had developed a reputation as one of Britain's most respectable executive cars. Its upright body, long bonnet, narrow pillars, and formal grille gave it a serious appearance. It wasn't trying to look sporty, it was trying to look important, and that worked. The Rover P5B became associated with politicians, government officials, senior businessmen, and people who wanted luxury without attracting too much attention. Under the bonnet was a 3.5-liter V8 engine. That engine gave the conservative-looking Rover considerably more performance than its appearance suggested. Inside, passengers were surrounded by leather, wood, carpeting, and comfortable seats. The P5B represented an older idea of British luxury. Quiet, formal, understated. It was the sort of car that didn't need to announce who was inside.
Number 9. The Daimler Sovereign. Daimler had been connected with British luxury for generations. By the 1970s, the Daimler Sovereign had become one of the more refined choices for buyers who wanted something special. It was closely related to the Jaguar XJ range, but the Daimler carried its own identity. The distinctive grille and traditional details gave it a more formal appearance. Inside, the atmosphere was exactly what many wealthy British buyers wanted. Soft leather, polished wood, deep carpeting, and plenty of room. Depending on the version, buyers could choose from different engines, including powerful 6-cylinder units. The Sovereign wasn't about showing off, it was about refinement. A Jaguar might attract attention from enthusiasts. A Daimler suggested something more traditional. It was the kind of car that could sit outside a London hotel without looking out of place. And for buyers who understood British luxury, that quiet elegance was part of the attraction.
Number 8. The Rover SD1 V8. When Rover introduced the SD1 in 1976, it represented a major change. The traditional British executive car was suddenly looking much more modern. The SD1 had a long, sloping bonnet, sharp front end, large glass area, and a dramatic hatchback body. It looked futuristic compared with older Rovers, but the most interesting version was the V8. A 3.5-liter V8 engine gave the SD1 strong performance while maintaining the comfort expected from a large executive car. The interior was spacious and practical, and the large hatchback made the car surprisingly useful. But the SD1 had another advantage. It had attitude. It wasn't simply a car for senior executives. Its racing success helped give it a performance image. For younger buyers who wanted British luxury without the traditional appearance, the SD1 was an exciting alternative. It showed that Rover was willing to move into a new era.
Number 7. The Bentley T1. Bentley represented a very different kind of British luxury. The Bentley T-Series had arrived in the 1960s, but the T1 continued to represent Bentley's traditional values through the 1970s. It was large, it was heavy, and it was incredibly comfortable. Under the bonnet was a 6.75-liter V8 engine designed to provide smooth, effortless power. The goal was never to make the driver feel the engine working hard. The goal was to make the journey feel effortless. Inside, the T1 offered beautifully finished leather, polished wood, thick carpeting, and a cabin that felt more like an expensive private room. A Bentley wasn't about chasing speed.
It was about arriving in comfort. For wealthy owners, that mattered. The car created a feeling of isolation from the outside world. Traffic could be noisy. British weather could be miserable. Roads could be rough. But inside a Bentley, those problems seemed much further away. That was the luxury.
Number 6. The Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow 2. Few names carried more weight in Britain than Rolls-Royce. The Silver Shadow had already become an important luxury car, and the Silver Shadow 2 continued that reputation into the late 1970s. Its design was elegant but restrained. The famous Rolls-Royce grille immediately identified the car. The long body gave it an imposing presence, and the interior was built around comfort, leather, wood, carpeting, soft seats, quietness. Everything was designed to make the passengers feel separated from the outside world. The Silver Shadow 2 also introduced improvements to the suspension and handling compared with earlier versions, but the most important thing was still the experience. Owning a Rolls-Royce wasn't simply about transportation, it was about status. A Rolls-Royce outside a house or hotel could tell people something about the person who owned it without a single word being spoken. In the 1970s, that kind of message was powerful. Number 5. The Jaguar XJ12. Now we reach one of the most important cars on this list, the Jaguar XJ12. By the 1970s, the Jaguar XJ had already established itself as one of Britain's finest luxury cars, but the XJ12 took the formula to another level. Its defining feature was a 5.3-liter V12 engine. 12 cylinders gave the Jaguar extraordinary smoothness. The power arrived quietly. There was no need for drama. The car simply gathered speed. From inside the cabin, the outside world could feel surprisingly distant. Leather seats and wood trim created the traditional Jaguar atmosphere, and the exterior was beautifully proportioned, long, low, elegant. The XJ12 could compete with some.
Number 4. The Aston Martin V8. Aston Martin represented another side of British luxury. Where Rolls-Royce focused on comfort, Aston Martin combined luxury with performance. The Aston Martin V8 became one of the defining British performance cars of the 1970s. Its long bonnet and muscular body gave it an unmistakable presence, but underneath was a large V8 engine capable of delivering serious performance. The interior was equally important. Leather, wood, detailed controls, and the feeling that the car had been created for someone who cared about driving. The Aston Martin V8 was expensive, it was exclusive, and it wasn't intended to be an ordinary family car. It was a grand tour for people who wanted speed without sacrificing luxury. The car could cruise across Britain in comfort and then come alive when the road opened up. And Aston Martin didn't simply arrive somewhere.
Number 3. The Rolls-Royce Corniche. The Rolls-Royce Corniche represented perhaps the most glamorous side of British luxury. Based on the Silver Shadow, the Corniche was offered as a two-door coupe and convertible, and the convertible was especially striking. Imagine a warm summer afternoon in 1970s Britain. The roof is down, the polished body is catching the sunlight. Inside are leather seats, wood trim, and carefully finished details. It was the sort of car that looked perfectly at home outside a five-star hotel. The Corniche was expensive and relatively exclusive. It wasn't designed for ordinary motorists. It was designed for people who wanted something more personal than a conventional luxury saloon. The car combined the prestige of Rolls-Royce with the glamour of an open-top grand tour. For celebrities, wealthy business owners, and high-profile personalities, the Corniche offered something few other British cars could. It turned luxury into an event.
Number 2. The Bentley Corniche. The Bentley version of the Corniche offered a slightly different interpretation of the same idea. While Rolls-Royce emphasized prestige and formal luxury, Bentley carried a more sporting personality. The two-door design gave the car a more personal character than a traditional limousine. Inside, it still had everything expected from a high-end British automobile. Leather, wood, carpeting, exceptional attention to detail. Underneath was a large V8 providing effortless performance. But the Bentley badge appealed to buyers who wanted luxury with a little more individuality. It was not as common as an ordinary executive car. In fact, very few people would ever have the opportunity to own one. That exclusivity was part of its appeal. In the 1970s, British luxury wasn't only about having money, it was about having access to things most people couldn't have, and the Bentley Corniche was certainly one of them. But there was still one Jaguar left, and this was the car that perfectly captured the idea behind today's title.
Number 1. The Jaguar XJ12 Daimler 66. If there was one Jaguar-related luxury car that could make its owner look unmistakably wealthy in 1970s Britain, it was the Daimler Double Six. Daimler had a long connection with British royalty and high society. That heritage already gave the name prestige, but the Double Six added something much more powerful. Under its elegant body was Jaguar's 5.3-liter V12 engine. That meant the car wasn't simply luxurious, it was genuinely fast. And that combination made the Double Six special. From the outside, it looked formal and dignified. It could easily have been mistaken for a car belonging to a senior government official or wealthy businessman. But press the accelerator and the character changed. The V12 delivered its power with remarkable smoothness. There was no need for a dramatic roar. The car simply moved forward with effortless authority. Inside, the Double Six offered the classic British luxury experience. Soft leather, beautiful wood, deep carpets, a quiet cabin, and plenty of space for passengers. This was a car designed to make its occupants feel important. It could sit outside a grand London hotel and look completely natural. It could cruise along a country road in almost complete silence. And when the road opened up, it had the power to surprise anyone who underestimated it. For wealthy British buyers, the Double Six offered something difficult